Welcome to The Hidden World of Women, a podcast brought to you by Women's Health and Wellbeing Services. My name is Emma and I'll be your host for today's episode. Today I'm joined by another amazing woman. I'm joined by Amy. Amy is an amazing solo mother of 3 children. Her children are 13, 10 and 8. Her oldest son has high-functioning autism with mild hearing impairment. Her youngest daughter has intellectual disability. She enjoys spending time reading non-fiction and inspirational books, learning spiritual and holistic practices, doing Pilates and yin yoga, going to the beach and walks, catching up with friends. She's studying a full-time Bachelor of Art Therapy, and if that's not enough, she's just written a book about losing her partner. Amy, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Emma. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So let's jump straight in. We started with the introduction. You lost your partner.
I did, yeah. I lost my husband 8 years ago now. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we were married for 10 years, but together for 10 years before that, so 20 years.
So you'd had, do you mind me sharing your husband's name?
Sure, yeah, it's Joe.
So Joe, you'd met Joe when you were a baby.
Yeah, we were 16. Yeah, we met in high school. Mm-hmm. And I knew I was going to marry him at some point.
Oh, so lovely. And I mean, all of your life experiences were with Joe.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
all of them.
Traveled the world and...
Yep, all our firsts, everything. So yeah, we were best mates as well. So I think that's what made our marriage so strong, is we just knew each other inside and out.
Yeah. And when you grow up together, you get that. You know, you're not the same person that you started out with. You know, you started out together, but you grow together and you learn each other inside and out. And I can only imagine that it's like losing half of you.
It's absolutely like losing a limb.
Yeah.
And I did describe that in my book. It was just, you don't realise when you're a part of someone and they're a part of you for so long and then they're just gone just like that.
Yeah.
You really feel that a part of you has been lost too.
So let's go back and take me through kind of the backstory. So you met when you were 16.
Yep, we met in high school. Mm-hmm. We went out for a couple of years. I was in business college when he was in year 12, and it was quite funny. Every Wednesday I had off business college. It was only 4 days a week, and it seemed that he was off every Wednesday at school.
Oh, funny how that works.
So we would just hang out. Yeah.
You were a bad influence.
Yeah, I was a bad influence on him. But anyway, he passed year 12, so that was all good.
Yeah.
So we just, we did so much travelling together. Our first travels involved travelling around Australia for 2 years. We left in 1999 and we spent a lot of that time up in Darwin, just living and working there.
Yeah.
And then travelling all the way down the east coast, back to Perth 2 years later. Joe proposed to me when we were in Victoria on Powlett Beach. It was very romantic. It was on Valentine's Day. And he just popped the question. I was just so excited, rang the family.
I'm a huge sap. You have to tell the story. How did he propose?
Well, it was actually true Joe style. He's a surfer. He's very down to earth and certainly not caught up in the clouds and things. So we were just on the beach. Joe had been for a surf that morning and it was getting towards evening time and sunset. And he was just sitting behind me and I could feel him sort of rustling around in the back, but, you know, I just ignored it. And then he just sort of came around the side and jumped in front of me and just opened the ring box. I didn't really say anything first. And I'm looking at it going, okay, is this just a Valentine's present?
That's it. I'm like, you got to put words with this.
Yeah.
You know, like I need to know before I start screaming yes.
Exactly.
Are you just giving me a nice ring?
Yeah, I wasn't really sure. But then he just said, so are we going to get married or what? And, I just went, oh my God. And so that was that. And yeah, we were both very excited and rang the family.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we got back to Perth and we were always planning our next trip. There was not much talk of, oh, let's go back to Perth and settle down in jobs.
Yeah.
So the next trip we we did stay home for about a year because we got married.
Yeah. That costs a lot of money, so it cuts you travelling down.
So we got married. We bought a little villa, a little home. And, so our next trip we just took off to Southeast Asia with a good mate of ours and did a couple of months of travelling before heading over to the UK.
Ah, awesome.
So we were in the UK for about 4 years. Mm-hmm. And during that time, we did a lot.
Yeah.
We travelled throughout Europe. Yeah. We bought a little van and did it up. We lived down in a little town called Hawley, which is very close to Gatwick Airport.
Yeah.
Joe really missed the surf, but because it wasn't there, he was able to cope with it because it was so far away.
Yeah.
But in saying that, we met up with a good friend of ours, Shane. He was a guy that Joe met when he was in the Mentawai Islands in Indonesia on a surf trip. And we met up with him in London and he mentioned that he wanted to go invest in a boat in Indonesia because he knew the boat builder.
Yeah.
So he told us all about it and we thought, wow, sounds amazing. Good on him. And then a few months later, he rang us and he said, oh, hey guys, I actually can't get the money myself to invest. Would you like to be a partner?
Take my spot. Yeah.
So we spent the afternoon in London at a pub talking it over. And we just thought, okay, well, we've got a decision to make.
Yeah.
We had to send about £15,000 over to Indonesia to a boat builder, Indonesian guy that we didn't know.
You've never met.
No.
Oh.
So it was risky.
Yeah.
But we ended up on the train back to Hawley and we were talking about it so much that we missed our stop.
Oh.
We went all the way down to Brighton.
Oh my goodness.
Probably another hour.
Yeah.
So we did what we normally do and we ended up flipping a coin. We just didn't know what to do and we thought, you know what, let's make the universe make the answer for us.
Yeah.
So we flipped a coin.
It's such a good skill. Like we do that as well because I think if you flip a coin and heads this is happening, tails it isn't.
Yep.
And then you know what you're hoping for before it's even landed. Yep. And if it lands and you go, yes, then you know you've made the right choice. Yep. If it lands and you go, you know what, actually we're going to do that.
Yeah, exactly. It helps you make that good decision that you actually want to do.
That's it. It's amazing. Just in that split second of flipping it up in the air, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when it landed heads, we both looked at each other and were just like, oh my God, are we going to do this?
We're going to do this.
So we knuckled down and saved some money and sent off all this money over to Indonesia.
But so brave.
Yeah. I mean, our whole family were just like, are you kidding me? You are crazy. Don't do it. But, we were risk takers. We didn't have a family.
Yeah.
We thought,
It's
look,
only
if
money.
we lose this money, it just means we're going to have to stay here longer and work longer.
Travelling a bit longer. Oh, dear.
So it wasn't really a bad decision for us. We just thought, why not take the risk?
Yeah. It's 15,000, not 15 million.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Much to our parents' disgust, we sent the money over, but it was the best decision we made. So we actually had that business for 10 years.
Oh wow.
Shane, who was the guy that we met up with, he became the surf guide on the boat. Me and Joe ran the business side of things. And we started our own company called Surging Waters. So we were a booking agency for our boat. And so we both had day jobs, but this was another nighttime job that we developed this company and we got a website up and running, a lot of advertising in surfing magazines. And we managed to get a group of UK surfers on board for the first trip.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then it just developed from there.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds like so much fun.
Yeah, it was. And, I managed to get out onto the boat a couple of times as well, which was a huge honour because it's not really a holiday destination unless you're a surfer.
Yeah. And you're not a surfer?
No, no. Joe really, really tried to make me surf. And I did a little bit, but yeah, I was just way too scared of the waves. And wherever he went, it was really for advanced surfers.
Yeah.
Because he was a very good surfer. So he got himself into the ASL magazine.
Ah, wow.
Which is Australian Surfing Life. And, he was one of the double-page spread advertising them in Towie Islands. And actually, probably about a year before he passed away, he was in the magazine. He got the editor to send over the full res photo of it.
Yeah.
And, you know, he was so proud of the photo because usually he was always the photographer taking photos of other people. But he had this great snap of himself, and we got it blown up and got it framed, and he was really proud of it, and ended up using it at the funeral.
Yeah, but it showed it showed who he was.
Exactly.
So really lucky to have those photos to be able to represent him.
Yeah, and there was a quote that that they put on it. It was a Mark Twain quote. And the last 3 words of it was explore, dream, discover. And probably a few years after he passed away, I was in Bali just with a friend, doing all the naughty things you shouldn't do in Bali, and I got a tattoo. And it said explore, dream, discover on the back of my neck. So
beautiful.
Yeah.
What did your parents think to that?
My mum was hated it. On Facebook, I could tell she was screaming in big capital letters, Amy, what are you doing?
All the exclamation marks.
Exactly. That's just one thing about me. If I want to do something, I'll just do it.
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
So then you came back to Australia?
Yeah, we did. After all those years, 6 months of those were spent also in Mexico and traveling through Central America. Wow. So a lot of third world countries.
Yeah.
That on its own is a whole nother podcast.
Yeah.
I accidentally, or should I say surprisingly, fell pregnant in Nicaragua with our first. And so I came back to Perth 5 months pregnant.
Oh, wow.
So we came back to our little villa. It had been rented out the whole time, so it wasn't
all in one piece
very good nick.
Yeah.
And I told Joe I am not living here with a baby.
I need at least a functioning toilet and kitchen sink.
So we set about renovating it. So Joe went straight back off into work. He was a design draftsman. And I actually looked after the renovation, which, I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
But, gradually getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, it gets harder and harder.
Quite tiring. Then Henry was born, and we ended up moving to our Wembley Downs home about 18 months after, when Henry was 18 months. And it was just a suburb that we never thought we'd get into, but we did really well with selling the little villa.
Yeah.
And moved into a suburb that, was just surrounded by trees and
beautiful.
Lots of beautiful different sort of houses. And that became our family home.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And was that a fixer-upper as well?
It was a fixer-upper. So, we don't do anything by halves.
Yeah, no.
It was a big fixer-upper, actually. So we had Ruby and a couple of years later, and then we decided, it needs the renovation whilst I was pregnant with Mia. So
I've renovated while I was pregnant.
It's awful.
And really is.
We really tried to move out for about 6 months, but we just couldn't get a rental.
Yeah, no.
For 6 months. So we lived in a half boarded up house. 2 toddlers.
With 2 toddlers,
and pregnant. So it wasn't fun.
No.
But I could
things
see
memories
the light.
are made of.
Yeah. I could see the light at the end of the tunnel.
And it wasn't a train coming to get you.
Yeah, no, I knew that this was going to be a beautiful renovation.
Yeah.
I just thought, we can do this.
It's such a small moment in time. We can get through this.
We can get through it. Yeah. So we started the renovations around September. Mia was due in November.
Oh gosh.
It was like, Joe's adamant. He's like, I said
We can
to
do
him,
this. 2 months. We can do it.
yeah, I said, look, let's just wait until after Mia's born.
Yeah.
And no, it had to be done. So yeah, off
Just
they
say
went.
I'm supposed to be the one who's nesting, not you.
Yeah, yeah. It was a big nester.
Yeah.
And Mia was born about 3 weeks early.
Oh.
Yes. And the house wasn't quite ready.
Yeah, funny that.
So I had to move in with my dad and his partner Terry. They were in Stirling. Luckily, they had a little, was it 3-4 bedroom townhouse?
Yeah.
So me and 3 kids with the newborn moved in with my dad.
Oh my goodness.
While Joe said pretty much stayed at the house and every day night was
trying to get it
finished. By Christmas, the day before Christmas Eve, it was ready.
Oh wow.
So we all moved back in.
Yeah.
And
'cause that's just what everyone wants to be doing with 3 kids the day before Christmas
exactly.
Eve.
Yep. As if you haven't got anything more
That's
to worry
it.
about.
No.
Yep. Let's move back in. So yeah, it didn't really matter that things were a mess, but the
You were
house
together.
was finally ready.
Yeah.
And Christmas was amazing. We were in the middle of the pool was going in, so the backyard wasn't quite ready, but at least the inside of the house was all done.
Livable. Yeah.
Livable.
Yeah.
Blank walls, but livable.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the pool was in by March, and I've got a beautiful photo with Joe and the kids in the pool. He was holding Mia, and the other 2 were, swimming around his feet and holding on to him as you do when you're in the pool with your dad. And I remember the look on his face. He was just so proud in that moment. It was, his vision that he'd really been looking for, since we bought the house. He was like, this is where the pool's going to go. And he was just so excited.
Yeah.
And then that was in March, and he got 3 months out of it, and then he passed away.
Did you? How?
Yeah, he passed away in his sleep. 36 years old. We're both 36. The kids found him in the morning. He was out in the lounge room.
Oh my goodness.
And yeah, he died from heart failure.
And you obviously didn't know beforehand that there was anything wrong. It was
nothing.
just...
He was fit as a fiddle. He used to ride or run into Subiaco, surf all the time.
Yeah. That in itself is madness.
Yeah.
He was just saying.
Yeah. Absolutely. He was, it was a bit crazy like that. It was just energetic.
Yeah.
And yeah, just one night here, gone the next.
There's just no words for that.
No.
And he was a baby.
Yeah. So young.
Yeah.
Just, no prior warning at all. And the thing is, because we were soulmates, I really thought I would always know if something happened to him.
Yeah.
Even when he was out surfing, the far out places he used to surf, and I would be sitting on the edge of a cliff or rocks or sandy beach or desert, wherever I was watching him. It was always in the back of my mind, I really hope nothing happens to him because I wouldn't know what to do.
Yeah.
But I just had a feeling that I would know if he was in trouble.
Yeah.
It's just, I would
the
finish
twin
his
thing,
sentences.
twin thing type thing that you would, you could sense if there was an issue.
Yeah. And on that morning, absolutely no sensing at all. I was still in bed, and the kids, Henry and Ruby, they were only 5 and 2. They got up and they went out to the lounge room. I could hear them speaking to him, but they were sort of saying, "Dad, wake up, Dad," and Ruby was saying, "Dad, open your eyes." But I was half asleep. I'd just got up an hour before and had fed Mia.
Yeah.
So it was about 7 in the morning.
So Mia was about 9 months old?
Mia was 6 months old.
6 months old.
Yeah. And the kids came down the hallway and they were sort of yelling at me that Dad wasn't waking up. And I thought, oh, what's he doing? Why? maybe he went for a surf. Maybe he's not even there.
Yeah.
Or why isn't he get them breakfast? So I did sort of quickly walk out there. I was just in my knickers and my tank top and, I just walked out and I saw him on his back in the lounge room floor. And I ran over and the first thing I did was I just started slapping his face.
Yeah.
And my kids were standing right there. And firstly, Henry actually started laughing. He thought it was funny what I was doing. But then he heard my screams.
Yeah.
And all I was screaming was no, 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 just over and over. And the thing is, when I hit his face, I knew.
Yeah.
But you go into that mode of, right, pragmatic mode. What do I need to do?
Yeah.
My phone was back down in my bedroom, so I just had to run back down and run back out. And like, I don't even remember the run, but I remember just thinking, okay, Amy, stop, think. What do you need to do? Who do you need to call? You know, it was 000. And I just remember telling them very pragmatically, like, this is what's happened. This is my address. My husband's not breathing. And then they said to me, the paramedic down the end of the line said, check his airways. Is he on his side? And I just said to them, I can't. I tried mouth to mouth. And sorry, this is probably a bit graphic, but I could hear all the blood gurgling.
Yeah.
I couldn't get my fingers into his mouth because he was already stiff. And I did hear the paramedic on the end of the phone. He was talking to me, but I wasn't even listening. I threw my phone down.
Yeah.
And I just kept doing mouth to mouth.
Just hoping.
I knew, but I just didn't want to know.
Yeah.
I just kept going.
And
Meanwhile,
you have to know that you've tried everything.
Oh, you do. You really do. Henry and Ruby were standing there crying while I was doing this, and I was very aware that they were watching me. But everything just stops.
Yeah.
I heard the sirens, and even that hearing the sirens, I thought, no, okay, it's going to be okay.
They're here now.
I can hear the sirens. It's going to be okay. And then it was actually, I didn't realise until probably quite a while later that the police were the first on scene. And a lady came rushing in. She started doing chest compressions straight away and sort of asked me to step back. And she said, look, my partner's going to be in soon. I would like for you and the children to step outside. And I remember and she'd stopped. And I remember just sitting and watching her and just thinking, why has she stopped?
Yeah. And
I was really quite confused what was going on.
You're supposed to be here to help. Why aren't you helping?
Yeah. So she actually ushered me and the kids out. And then another, I thought paramedic, but it was actually another policeman went running in. And I was out the front. My next door neighbour was there. My brother-in-law was there. I was just shaking. And the lady policeman came out not long after that. And I just said, my baby, she said, it's okay, your baby's fine, because Mia was still in the cot. And the rest was a bit of a blur. I went next door to my next door neighbour's house.
At some point, did you put some trousers on?
Oh my God, I must have. I actually can't even remember that. At some point,
you put trousers on.
Maybe someone came out and gave them to me. No idea how that happened.
Yeah. Because even, your brother-in-law got there. Did you call him? How did he get the police call?
He actually he goes past my road on the way to work. And he was down at a few traffic lights where the police and the ambulance went flying past him And he just thought, gosh, I wonder where they're off to.
Oh, God.
And when he went nearly past my house, he couldn't believe it. He saw them all out the front of my house. So when he pulled in, I think he thought something happened to Henry or one of the kids.
Yeah.
And when him and my next door neighbour were with me, I just kept saying over and over, he's gone, he's gone.
Oh, gosh.
And they were like, who's gone? And I just kept saying, he's gone. They did go in and have a bit of a look, but the paramedics told them
Get out.
They're best not to.
Yeah.
They did see him on the floor, and they just couldn't believe it was him.
Yeah.
And next door, I made a few of the phone calls. My bodily functions gave way.
Yeah.
I was vomiting in the toilet and just in absolute utter shock. I just couldn't believe what this was happening. And even while it was happening, I was like, no, this is actually a dream, and
I'm going to wake up.
And he's going to be okay.
Yeah.
I was still thinking he was going to be okay, but not. It's very weird. So
Living outside yourself for that little time.
Yeah, absolutely. I rang my mum, and then I had to make the phone call to his parents.
How do you do that?
Oh, it was, again, it was just putting on my big girl pants and just going, I have to do this.
Did you have to do that? Did the police give you the option that they would do that for you? Can you remember?
They weren't actually with me at the time. They were still in the house.
Yeah.
So I was sitting inside my next door neighbour's house on their steps. My mum and my sister were with me. And I just remember thinking, I need a phone, Joy and Nigel. And Nigel answered the phone, and I think he just instinctively knew by the sound of my voice, because I just said, Nigel, it's Joe, and I didn't have to say any more. I heard him break down. I heard his mum scream in the background, and then the next minute, at some point, they were over at my house.
Yeah.
And then before I knew it, we're all sitting around the dining room table, just going, what the hell?
Yeah, how does this happen?
What the hell just happened?
Yeah. And you'd got 3 babies to look after.
Yeah, geez. I don't even know really what happened next. It was funeral time. It was getting all that ready.
And had you discussed any of those things with him?
No.
Because you were 36.
Yeah. That was the hard part, was I wanted the funeral to be so perfect and to make it so right.
Yeah.
I found that very challenging. I just wanted the right songs and, to really just do it right.
Yeah.
As it turned out, it was, and I don't like to say it was amazing, but it really was a very profound funeral. There were hundreds of people that turned up.
Yeah.
He was bigger than life. He made an impact on a lot of people.
Yeah.
So it was a very big funeral.
And was it perfect? Did that help you?
It did, yeah. I had a few of his mates over deciding on the songs, and when they came on, I just knew.
Yeah.
I just knew, that's the song. I spent a fair bit of time down the beach writing my eulogy, and it was really important to me to say the words that I did.
And you did manage to say your eulogy?
I did, yeah. I heard the gasps from the audience of when I stood up.
Yeah.
I didn't look at anyone because when I first saw the amount of people there,
it's
was very overwhelming. I wanted to get through what I had to say.
Yeah.
I had a lot of words that I wanted to share, and it was really important to me to get those out. And like I made a promise to him, and I just said, I will always honour you in everything I do. The kids will know just what an amazing dad you were and how much he loved them so much. So every year for the next 3 years on the anniversary of his death, I organised all his mates and family down at Trig Beach. We would write on yellow helium balloons and let them go at sunset.
Yeah.
And for me, it was the most magical experience of seeing people be able to write a message to him and let it go up into the universe where he got them.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. So, again, that was another really important ritual for me. And I wanted the kids to see, you know, just how much he was loved and
the impact that he'd had on the world.
The impact, yeah.
And does Henry remember?
He does. You know, being 5, yes, he was young, but he had 5 years worth of experiences with him, memories. So,
and I think sometimes it's children might not remember specific things, but they remember how somebody made them feel.
Yeah, definitely. He actually has a very good memory. Even now, he remembers so many things when he was 2.
Yeah.
You know, do you remember when Dad did this? And do you remember when we went there? And but for so many years, and I'm, you know, he probably only stopped 3 years ago. Every night it was crying for Dad. I wish Dad was here. Why did it have to be my dad? It was extremely
really
painful.
hard. Yeah, because you're trying to deal with your own grief and then hold the grief for, well, I mean, your youngest baby was 6 months old, so probably okay there, but holding grief for 2 small children as well.
Absolutely. That probably was the biggest learner for me, was holding their grief and also sort of holding mine. But what I did learn along the way with children is, yes, they are resilient, but you need to let it out when it's appropriate to them. I had an amazing photo book made up, and I'd just have it on the coffee table, and I still have it there now.
Yeah.
And it's amazing when pictures are out, you know, not digital, just actual photographs, that they just go to it.
Yeah.
And they open it up whenever they want, and it would then start a conversation. Yeah. And Mia still does that. You know, she looks at the photos and in her own way she will ask, what's happening here?
Yeah.
And so then it turns into a story.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's really lovely. So he's still part of your life every day.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, he's still got pictures up and we still talk about him, and the kids know when it's his birthday. Family celebrations, we're always cheersing to Joe. Yeah. So he's never forgotten. Yeah.
And does Ruby remember Dad?
Ruby does. She certainly has some specific memories. As time is going on, though, they are fading. Yeah. She will, if she sees a photo, she will remember it. But yeah, probably not as much as what Henry did.
That difference between being 2 and being 5, such a big difference.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess, how did you get through with, you had 3 children and one of them was still a baby in arms.
Yeah.
How did you get through that?
It really was, at the beginning, one day at a time. One day I couldn't.
Was Henry at school?
Henry was at school. He probably had about a week off. Yeah. But I was told the best thing for them was routine. So he did go back to school. It was extremely hard watching him go back because he didn't want to be there. I had so much support from my family.
Yeah.
The thing was, I had never been alone before.
No.
My whole adult life was with Joe. We had only ever probably been apart for 2 weeks, and that was when he went on a holiday without me. So not only did I have to grieve him for the loss, but I had to learn to be on my own and look after 3 kids on my own. It was really scary.
I'm asking this as someone, so I've been with my husband since I was 17 years old. So
Wow.
very similar. I have, well, my children are older than yours were at the time, but, you know, I've grown up with him.
Yeah.
So I cannot fathom, you know, we've spent maximum a week apart.
Yep.
And only a very few times kind of thing. So I cannot imagine how you go from such an intertwined life of, like, it honestly must have felt like you had been cut in half.
Oh, so much so.
And so debilitating.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't feel that I was myself for about a year.
Even that seems really quick.
Yeah.
Well done.
Oh, absolutely. I remember the day it's like my soul came back to me after about a year. I was a shell, and I had quite a few family members say to me, you were just walking around, like you were there, but physically and mentally just not.
Yeah.
They could really see that part of me had died with
just
him.
doing the things that you had to do.
I was
to
on
get through.
autopilot.
Yeah.
So how I got through was having a lot of family around me. I had a family member stay with me overnight for 3 months. Oh, wow. Just so I wasn't on my own.
Yeah. How did you go that first night when you were on your own?
When I was on my own, I think I felt ready.
Yeah.
Actually, it was my sister-in-law that had the last stint with me.
They were tag teaming in.
It's
your turn to look after Amy this week.
Everyone was on a schedule. You know, my mum put all that together.
Yeah.
And I just want to say that, you know, she had a holiday booked, first holiday in a long time, a big cruise. She ended up going on it, but she was just so worried for me.
Yeah.
She didn't want to leave me. She was my strength. She supported me through, I mean, everyone did. Yeah. But she just dropped everything. Everyone dropped their lives for me.
I think, though, you know, when I said my children are a bit older than yours are, and it doesn't matter how old your children are. So, you know, I remember it's not even close to being the same, but I remember being 36 and getting broken down on the side of the freeway and calling my dad to come and help, you know, because I'm only 36. But you're still their baby. Yeah. You know, so they will drop everything to come and look after you because these are our village. These are our people.
Yeah. So. Absolutely. You know, my dad, he knew there was nothing he could do for me, so he took me to my appointments. Yeah. He booked me into a grief counsellor.
That's really good. My dad brings me cake.
Yeah.
So if anything's ever bad, he just comes with cake. He comes from the north of England. We don't talk about emotions. Yeah, have some cake.
Have a cake. Have a cup of tea.
Yeah, exactly.
I've never drunk so much tea in my life.
Turning into my insides are coated with tannin.
Yeah, it was a really good weight loss diet.
Yeah. Unlike my dad's version where it's have some cake.
Yeah, mine was a cup of tea and a biscuit was all I could stomach for a good few months.
It's not a diet that we recommend.
It's not. No, it's called the anxiety diet and it's really not a healthy
It's really
one.
not healthy. No.
But yeah, it was... it really was living in a land of unknown for so long. Oh, boy, it was, one day at a time. I couldn't even look for tomorrow. Tomorrow was too far away.
Yeah.
It eventually got to a week at a time.
And sometimes I think, you know, a day at a time can feel like too much as well.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes we just have to get through this next appointment or we just have to get through the next hour. And, you know, when you're going through this did you know at the time that your children had additional needs?
The only thing I knew was Henry had already been diagnosed with a hearing loss. So he was 3 when he got diagnosed with a hearing loss. So he had to wear hearing aids. No. So the next major thing for me to go through was the diagnosis of Henry and Mia.
And doing that by yourself.
Doing it on my own.
That's it, on your own. You weren't by yourself because you did have
I did have family.
Support. It's
but
just not the same.
There is nothing like having your husband by your side. So the next thing was Mia wasn't developing as sort of on the timeline that, you think that they should. I knew that she was behind in her walking and talking. When my doctor said, look, I think she needs to go to the State Child Development Centre just to get assessed, it turned out that they diagnosed her with global developmental delay, which I had to learn about. Then she wasn't, by the age of 6, they did tell me that if her development didn't catch up and she didn't pass this test, which was an IQ test, she would be deemed to have intellectual disability. And it just, it was something that I just had to swallow myself and think, oh my God, what does that mean for her and for me?
Yeah.
I was too scared to face it at the time to really know what it meant.
Yeah, because if you look into it and you find out, then it's real.
Yeah.
Definitely ostrich coping.
Oh, so much so.
Yeah.
And I still do it now. I put my head in the sand.
Yeah, we all do.
I don't really want to know because
I'm not ready for it.
I'm not ready. I'm not ready to go down that path.
Yeah.
But I knew she was having some struggles. And unfortunately it turned into very behavioural based challenges. So while I'm having these challenges with Mia, Henry was also having behavioural challenges. And there was appointment after appointment with this therapist, that therapist, the school, counsellors, State Child Development Centre.
Yeah.
It just didn't end. All my life was taking Henry and Mia to appointments.
Yeah.
And then there's Ruby, that gets stuck in the middle.
Stuck in the middle and missed because she doesn't have all the appointments to go to.
So it was a whirlwind of just coping for many years, up and down with all that.
Yeah.
Henry did finally get diagnosed with high-functioning autism at the age of 9, which is quite late.
Yeah.
But it really helped because then they can get specific intervention.
Yeah.
By the time he was 9, 10, 11, he was getting easier for me to understand.
Yeah.
I did have to adjust my parenting. And with special needs, unless you really, really learn so much about it, you just feel that your kids are not behaving right or they should know. Why aren't they doing this? Why aren't they behaving like that child over there? And you've just got to learn that they are who they are. And it was the biggest learning curve for me, but I had to do it on my own.
Yeah.
Which was really affected my mental health.
And it's really hard because I think it can be really helpful to have someone to tag in and just go, you know what, I'm done. I can't fight with this therapist anymore. I can't. I just can't. I need you to tag in. It's your turn. You take it for, I just need you to take just for half a day. You make this phone call. You organise this.
Absolutely.
I need a break.
Absolutely.
And you didn't have that.
I didn't have it. It broke me.
The system's not made to be easy. So it's really difficult to navigate, but trying to do that through grief on your own with 2 children that both have those additional needs. Yeah, it was really difficult.
Yeah, and you just, as a parent, mum, you keep going, but inside you're like a boiling pot.
Yeah.
You are simmering.
Yeah,
and no wonder if someone says something to you, you just flip your lid because you're just already on boiling point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess it teaches you resilience.
I dream of a day where I don't get called resilient.
Oh oh my God, you are so resilient. And I'm like,
I don't want to be resilient. It's not a choice.
That I had to go through to get resilient. I don't know if it's a good thing to learn.
Not. It is not a good thing.
No.
It's really not. No.
It means you've had to just
endure
the hardness of hardness.
Yeah.
To get through, to find some resilience.
Yeah, that's
and
it.
Sometimes resilience is just putting on a happy face and going, okay, I've got a lot of stuff going on, but I'm just going to choose to ignore it today.
I'm here anyway.
I'm going to smile and be happy.
Yeah, today I managed to put on trousers and a bra.
Exactly.
I'd like a gold star, please.
I haven't brushed my teeth, but it doesn't matter.
All of my children made it to school, though.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah.
So going back,
yeah.
if you think about what was most helpful for you?
Gee, time out. My family, friends, giving me time out.
Yeah.
Even if it was just for an hour, I really found out quite quick that I need that for self-love. I need that to clear my mind. I need that to function as a mum.
And I imagine it must have been really difficult to try and hold that space for Ruby and Henry to allow them to feel as though they're safe and to make sure that they have space to be able to grieve the way that they need to.
Yeah.
But to still have that connection with you, and at the same time you think, when's it my turn?
That was the absolute hardest. It was being pulled in so many different ways. So when I went out for my hour or 3 hours, I actually had to choose to not think about anyone else.
Yeah.
Because if I didn't, I never, ever got that mental time away.
Yeah.
So I made that decision to be okay with mentally and physically and emotionally leaving them for 3 hours.
And knowing that they're safe.
They're absolutely fine.
Yeah.
They're with family that love
People
them,
that love them.
that are just supporting them. Through school, they were getting some really beautiful care with the pastor. They were doing a Rainbows program. And I just think that absolutely needs to run in schools.
Now, I've heard of the Rainbows program, and I remember when I heard about it thinking that is such a great program.
Absolutely.
But I've forgotten what it is.
So the Rainbows program really helps any children of primary school age going through any sort of grief, trauma, loss. And it can range from, my kids were the only ones through death of a parent, but there were other kids there with their dads that were FIFO that weren't home very often. There were kids there where there was separation, and there were kids there where there was some abuse.
Yeah.
And but you know what? The kids don't care what's happened to each other. They're just in this beautiful, loving environment. And they're able to share in a very gentle form what's going on for them, even without them actually not knowing that they're sharing it.
Yeah.
So it's all through a workbook. It's through stories. It's through examples. They get to, do normal things like colour in.
Yeah.
But it all means something. They bring home their little workbook. They have a little confidentiality agreement that they share with the chaplain to say, you know what, this is your book.
Yeah.
Whatever you do in here, you don't have to show anyone.
Yeah.
Or you can show mum or dad, whoever you like.
Yeah.
That was a once a week for about a 6 weeks program.
And again, that means that somebody else for that once a week is holding that space for your children.
I so needed that.
Yeah.
I really struggled
to share that
with,
load.
Absolutely. I wasn't a counsellor.
No. I'm barely qualified to be a mum.
Exactly.
You want me to be a counsellor as well?
I didn't want to put that hat on.
Yeah.
I had a million other hats.
Yeah.
And for someone else just to take over that for me was a huge relief. And to be honest, just going forward a bit to now is why I'm studying art therapy.
Yeah.
because it's so important for kids to have that third person to go to for support, healing,
safety,
and to take a load off the parents. For me it was a place where I knew that at least somewhere they were getting some feelings out. And I just thought it was an amazing program. I wasn't quite ready to send my kids off to a psychologist. I didn't know what else to do. I didn't know where to send them. I didn't know if sending them was the right thing to do.
It's really hard because do you make it bigger by sending them to a psychologist, or do you I don't want to make something out of something that's not there, but at the same time, how do I support my children and make sure they're okay?
Absolutely.
It's really difficult.
I think I found my own way in the end, and it really was. It generally happened at night time because kids are busy during the day, and that's really good for them. It's night time when we were reading stories, they were going to bed. I just hugged them. I gave them so much love. I cried with them. I didn't try to make it better. I said, when Henry said, "It's not fair, Mum," and cried, I cried with him. And
it's
I
not
said,
fair.
"It is not fair. It is so not fair. I am so, so sorry you don't have your dad." And eventually we got to the point where we would all cuddle up in bed. Mia was a bit young, so she was in her cot. But me, Henry and Ruby, we'd all be on one bed. And instead of reading them books, I made stories up for them. And it was almost like a meditation for me at the same time. And they loved it. We're like, Mum, can we have that story tonight?
Like, I don't know, I can't remember it.
It didn't matter. I just started off with, once upon a time there was a fairy and she jumped over a big rock, and I didn't even know where it was going to lead. But it was just a beautiful thing that we could do together. And even though I may have not have been there during the day, I may have not sat down and played board games with them, I knew that night we were together
and had that connection.
And we had that connection. And we are so close. All four of us have just got such a beautiful bond. And I feel like because they had that bond with me from such an early age, it really is what's made them who they are today. And they really look after me. But I haven't put them in the position. I haven't said, right, you're the man of the house. It's your job to look after me. They just naturally are just beautiful, giving children.
That's really lovely. Was there support at the school for Henry? As in the classroom, he had to come into the classroom and share that his dad had died.
He was only in pre-primary.
Because how do you prepare the rest of the class for that?
It was pretty hard. I think the teacher did tell the children, but it was also a very interesting dynamic because a lot of parents hadn't even talked to their kids about death. So it was a discussion that I believe was had with the parents in a group setting. The parents were just so supportive of me and Henry, and the school was too. It was a time where, Henry was definitely given a lot of kind of time in school to adjust. And if he didn't want to go one day, he didn't go.
There's much more important things than missing out on playing with blocks in pre-primary.
Pre-primary.
Even in Year 12, I still think that there's times where you prioritise ATAR English with, making sure that you're functioning.
Absolutely. A health day. A me
definitely.
day. I think school was quite good for him because he did have that routine.
And kids are so, they're just oblivious. So...
they are really
what happened to your dad,
moment.
Henry? Oh, he died. Oh, okay. Do you want to play trucks?
Exactly.
So it's just, all right, that happened. Let's move on.
And some of his friends said, "Oh, that's sad. And he said, yeah.
Want to play trucks?
Exactly. And that's, I love kids for that.
Yeah.
Because
it just is.
It just is. That's right. It really is. It's harder for an adult because you feel, people have, and that's something I discuss in my book is, in the Grief Survival Guide, is what to say and what not to say to a grieving person. And I think in society as a whole, we're just not taught grief. So we don't
really
know how to talk about it with the grieving person.
No.
And we don't know how to be with the grieving person. It's kind of, it's tricky.
It is. In my life outside of this, I do a lot of things, but one of them is I work as a funeral celebrant.
Oh, wow.
And you're right, it is really difficult.
Yeah.
And people are afraid to say someone's name.
Yeah.
And they're afraid to, well, if I bring it up, will I remind them?
Yes.
I can pretty much guarantee at no point have you forgotten that your husband died 8 years ago. So it doesn't matter if I bring it up or not. It's not going to be a surprise to you that he died.
Yeah, absolutely.
But perhaps hearing somebody say his name and remember something, that may bring you some sort of relief that somebody else remembers him, or, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
But we're brought up to fear death and for death to be shrouded with shame.
Oh, so much so.
And I think, there's a quote which is something along the lines of, we have 3 deaths. So one is when we take our last breath, one is when our body returns to the earth, and one is when our name is spoken for the last time.
Oh.
And I think whenever we can talk about people, then we get an opportunity to keep them with us in some way.
Yeah.
So I always think that when people go, oh, well, I don't want to mention anything, you know what, that's possibly a missed opportunity to bring someone some sort of peace. And if they don't want to talk about it, they'll go, you know what, I can't do this today.
Exactly.
So,
absolutely. It was so important for me. I think that's why I did so many rituals and so many get-togethers. And, I got his beautiful photo painted on my wall. And, I just wanted to keep him alive in people's memory.
Yeah.
Because I certainly wasn't going to forget it.
No.
And for people to talk about him, it made me feel like, yes, let's keep his memory alive. And that makes me feel happy that you're talking about him. It's like you're respecting him. And
'cause he did have a big impact on the world.
He
hundreds
certainly
of people
did.
came to his funerals. So let's rejoice in that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think grieving people, yes, it might make them sad, but they need that. They need that knowing that you can talk about him. I think the worst thing is for it to be skimmed over and brushed under the carpet. Yeah. It's awkward then.
Yeah. And that one of the other things that I see with funerals is there's all the focus on the grieving family up until the day of the funeral. And then it's like, oh, well, we've got closure now, we can move on. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
But actually, no, my life doesn't just go back to normal now because the funeral's over. Now's when the grieving actually really starts.
Absolutely.
And then quite often, so you were really lucky that you had those family that were there for you for those 3 months to gradually wean you off that support.
Yeah.
But for a lot of people, it's like, oh, well, the funeral's over now. I'm back to work and everything should just go back to normal.
Yeah.
And that's not the way it works.
It's really when you feel you're most isolated and you're most scared and vulnerable and angry.
Yeah.
There were so many times, and this is even going into years after, that every time you step out your door, you're reminded of who you don't have. There's couples together, there's families together, there's people going on holidays together.
Just going and watching your child get an honour certificate
Oh my
at school.
God, that's probably the hardest thing. Is watching your children in sporting activities. Both parents are there, egging their child on. You turn up alone.
Again.
It's a reminder every single day. And people don't realise, even now, 8 years on, I still go to parent-teacher nights on my own.
Yeah.
I still go to sporting events on my own. I still go to barbecues, family barbecues on my own. It's still there.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm smiling. Yes, I'm happy.
And it's not as hard, but you're
It's
still
not
on
as
your
hard,
own.
but I'm still on my own.
Yeah.
It never goes away.
Yeah. On a lighter note, and I know I shouldn't be making fun of this, but were there things that were Joe's roles that you were like, oh, great, now I've got to do that? You know, like my husband takes the bin down and fills the petrol up.
Oh, my
Like,
God.
you know,
So many things.
I don't even know where the petrol tank is on my car. Those are the kinds of things I'm like, oh, God, I'd have to learn that.
Oh, my God. So many things. Cleaning the pool.
Ah, yeah.
Oh, so cleaning the pool.
I'm sorry, this is his pool. He wanted it. He was
Exactly.
he agreed he was going to clean it and look
That's
after
right.
it.
Oh, cleaning the pool is just a mission. Yep, taking the bins out. Fixing stuff around the house. Oh, so many little things, like just handing something over, like an email, and say, can you just take care of that?
Yeah.
It's definitely house maintenance is a big thing.
Yeah.
Holidays, planning holidays was sort of his thing.
Yeah.
Getting us out and about was his thing. There was a lot. There's a lot, so much I had to learn.
Yeah.
And yes, I call that resilience and learning, and look at me, I can do all this by myself.
I don't want to do it.
But I had to do it. You know, my kids wanted a photo on the wall. I had to learn how to use a drill. There's a lot of things I had to learn, but you know what? I would quite easily give that up to have not learnt it.
Yeah. That's it. I'm happy to not be resilient and have my husband back. Thanks.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. Were there any, this is not going to be worded well, but was there any silver linings? Were there any moments that you've kind of gone, well, out of a really dire, terrible situation, this happened?
There are. And that's what keeps me going. So many silver linings. I guess the first one I found was I started doing things I never thought I could possibly ever do or get into. So after he passed, the house was a bit of a blank canvas. I started just doing rooms up, painting them, putting curtains up. Buying stuff off Gumtree and putting it on the walls, and like I said, learning to use a drill, really getting quite creative. And in that, it was moments where my grief was not there. I was so therapeutically involved in this creative activity. I just felt like alive again. So quite a few months of just doing that around the house. And I thought, you know what, this is a new direction for me. And I decided to sign on to study for a diploma of interior design.
Oh, wow.
So I studied full time from home while looking after the
3
kids.
children and a baby.
With a baby. Interior designer diploma.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. So that really got me onto the line of a new career, something I loved doing. I was pretty good at it. So there was definitely that silver lining. It didn't last overly long. I really threw myself into it. I had my own company. Getting clients was really hard, and doing the whole business thing on my own was really, really hard. I fell into a bit of oh gosh, this is hard.
I really can't be bothered.
I don't know if I can do this. This is really hard, and I'm not earning any money. I'm not really loving it anymore. The challenges with Henry and Mia were getting quite severe. I felt myself going downhill. And there was a time there where I rang my sister from the beach, and I was just having a really bad day with Mia and her behaviour. And she said, look, I'll come over this afternoon and we'll get a plan in place. I'll help you. I was like, okay, because that afternoon I had to be at the school to watch them run around the oval. And I thought, no, I can't go home right now. I'm going to go sit down at Joe's Plaque down at Trigg. And I sat down there. It was a cool day. The wind was blowing, but the sun was out. and had a nice big black jacket on, and I sat down. I was quite sheltered, and I just was so exhausted. I laid down. I couldn't get back up.
Yeah.
I cried and cried, and my body literally gave in. I started hallucinating. I started seeing all these faces, like doctor faces, come in and out. I wanted to walk into that sea and not come back. I looked in the ocean and I just thought, how easy would it be just to swim out and not come back? To me, that just sounds like peace. A couple saw me lying on the rocks, and I heard someone yell out, "Are you okay?" And I was that exhausted. I just put my hand up to kind of signal to them that I'm not too sure. But they walked away thinking that was a yes.
Okay.
I had my phone in my back pocket of my jeans, and it took me 3 hours just to reach behind to be able to grab it.
Yeah.
In that moment, I just wanted to be whisked away because I just didn't want to do life anymore.
That's it. You need somebody else to come and take
I
control.
needed someone to take over.
Yeah.
I rang my mum and I said, "Mum, I'm down at the rocks. I can't." And she just said, "Oh my God, Amy, have you taken something?" And I said, "No."
No, but if you've got something, I'm open to suggestions.
I just said, I'm gone, Mum. I can't do this. She came and got me, took me back to her house, rang the doctor. I was just exhausted.
Yeah.
Didn't quite make it to the kids.
Running around
the oval. I can't remember what happened there. But again, my mum to the rescue. She stayed at my place over the weekend, and I went and stayed with a friend down in Mandurah for about 3 or 4 nights, just to get away, just to do me.
Yeah.
I needed that. That was just that break that I needed just to come back to and recharge. But yeah, I had many downs. So yeah, that was definitely one of my lowest moments.
And I think that it's something that people often think about, that wouldn't it be easier if I just didn't wake up in the morning, or wouldn't it be easier if I went out and I just didn't come back? There's a big difference between that and actually having a plan. And,
absolutely.
And how are you going to do it, and when are you going to do it, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, but it's knowing to reach out for help, and that there is that support network there for you, and whether that's your family or whether it's through organisations like Lifeline and Beyond Blue, those kinds of things, that there are places that you can reach out for help. And I think part of those silver linings is knowing that you've got such an amazing support crew that are on your side, and they're support crew, they're cheerleaders, they're everything that you need them to be when you need them to be, which is really beautiful and really lucky to have.
Oh, I was just so lucky for the supportive family. Yeah.
And so, going all the way back to the beginning of this conversation, you have written a book.
I have written a book.
Yeah.
So in between 6 months.
All of those things.
Yeah, in between all that, in between COVID and knowing that I was going to start this art therapy bachelor, I had 6 months to, I pretty should have done nothing, but, be mum. But no, I decided to write a book. So I was down the beach one day, and I just had a feeling that I needed to write this. During COVID, it kept coming up on my Facebook about, how to write a book in, a certain amount of time. And, I thought I need to do this because not only just for a personal journey, but also everyone that I come into contact with is so amazed by my journey and how I got through it, and the sort of the ups and downs. I just thought, what, if I can actually share this with other grieving widows, they won't feel so alone. Yeah. And for me in the beginning, feeling like a widow, a young widow, was probably the most intense feeling. I just thought I was the only one out there grieving.
And a friend's mum lost her husband at a very young age as well, and was told by Centrelink, "You're too young to be a widow." Oh, well, I'll tell my husband to get back up again then, shall I? Like, what do you mean I'm too young to be a widow? But that reinforcement that you are alone because, well, you're 36. What do you mean you're a widow?
Exactly. It's being a widow is I guess, comes with an age of you're old.
Yeah. 80-year-olds are widows,
exactly.
not 36-year-olds.
Yeah,
so.
That's right. Yeah. And unfortunately, there are a lot of us. I'm on a Young Widows Facebook page, and sadly, there are 20-year-olds who are widows. It's not spoken of, and grief. Gosh, it's such a huge line. You've got from one end of the spectrum to the next, and grief and losing a husband, partner is just one of those aspects. And I know through writing the book and the feedback that I've had, it's helped people that are going through divorce. It's helped people that are just stuck in life. And one of the things that's happening now, from last year to now, or this COVID stuff, is we've all lost a purpose. We've lost our freedom of travel. A lot of people have lost jobs, lost loved ones to the virus. Grief being on this huge spectrum is something that I really feel needs to be out there now. Like I said in a speech that I said earlier, that driving a car, you don't get in a car unless you learn how to drive it first. Imagine getting in and being given no lessons. You'd crash the car. You wouldn't know what to do. And it's the same with grief. Why learn it when you're in it? Yeah. Why can't we learn a little bit about it before we get in it? Yeah. And teach our children. Yeah.
Train for the moment, not in the moment.
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah. My children, because of this experience, we've sat down and we've talked about I don't want to scare them, but it's really important to have those conversations. Kids, one day I am going to be gone. Yeah. But you know what? This is what you're going to do. This is what I want. I know it's not going to be nice when it happens, and it's so far away. Yeah. But let's just get this conversation out there. Yeah. Because once you're gone, you can't belt back and knock on the door and go, "Oops, I forgot to tell you this." Yeah.
Yeah, I had I was really quite young. I was 19 and had a conversation with a loved one who was dying, and wanted to know what he wanted this to look like and what his choices were. And my relatives were absolutely horrified. Wow. You can't talk to him about that. He knows he's dying. Like, this isn't going to be a surprise to him. Yeah. So this is a way that we can give people some control. Absolutely. But people are just so afraid to have that conversation because, what is it they say? Death and taxes. They're two things that are non-negotiable in life. So, we're all dying. Yeah. It's just the speed that you're running at, really.
Absolutely.
So
I think it's because it's a morbid conversation. People don't want to go there, but it's such an important one. Yeah, it really is. And it's not until us as a society can open it up and be okay with talking about it.
Just because you talk about it doesn't mean it's going to happen. I talk about winning the lotto, but that hasn't happened
That's
yet.
Right. And it's important for us to teach kids to say the actual words, like he died, he's dead, it's death. Let's use those words because they're real. Yeah. Yeah.
And, we lost him. Well, where did you put him?
Exactly. So, kids do not understand, those sort of words.
And he's not lost. No. He's still with you every day.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Yeah. And so those are, I guess, some of the themes that run through your book?
Yeah, they are. Yep.
Which we're just going to give that a shameless plug, Sink or Swim?
Sink or Swim.
That's available.
Correct. Available on my website,
which I'll put the link in the show notes.
Yep. They are available online through many bookstores, but if you buy it through me, I'll personally sign it and post it out. And yeah.
Fantastic. And you do, so you said about the car analogy, so you do go out and do speaking events as well?
I do, yep. I've got a few speaking events coming up, which I'll always post on my Facebook page and my Instagram page.
Which will also be in the show notes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and absolutely. If there's anyone out there that has got an event coming up where they would like to hear my story, they would like a little bit more information about grief, you know, the second part of my book, the Grief Survival Guide, has so much in it.
Yeah.
That's a whole topic on its own.
Yeah. And so you spoke about the Facebook group with for young widows.
Yes.
Is that one that we can share a link to as well? So is it a private
it
group
is.
that
You
people
do
have to
need to join the group,
Yeah.
and there is an administrator.
Questions, yeah.
And I'm pretty sure it is just for widows. But any of those Facebook sites, honestly, they are absolutely amazing, and they weren't available for me back then.
8 years
there was
ago
nothing.
was very different.
Absolutely. They are such a great support. They're there for venting, just you're having a bad day. They're there for positivity, anything that you need it to be.
Yeah, and I think it's really good as well to have that group of people where you can go and vent, but at the same time, that they're there to hold you when you need it, but they're also there to celebrate for you and cheer when things go well, and or being able to know that an anniversary is coming up, and they know what that feels like, but at the same time, the celebration that you want to have of somebody's life, and people who get it, people who have been there.
Absolutely. There are, obviously some families that don't support their grieved family, or it may be culturally really hard for them to really talk about how they're feeling. So, those Facebook groups are really, really positive for that.
Yeah, and that's it. You have an amazing village, you have an amazing tribe, an amazing community that surrounds you of real in-person people.
Absolutely.
Your family, whether that's by blood, by marriage, or by choice, they've been there for you. But you're right, some people don't have that. Yeah. But it's really important to find that support.
Absolutely.
So social media, I think, has given us the ability to do that, and Facebook does seem to work really well in that you can have those conversations, whereas Instagram's just, look at how amazing my life looks today.
Yes, I look so good today.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The Facebook pages are really good support.
Yeah. Did you find any other good support networks out there?
Oh, I did. I am quite a spiritual person. The very beginning, I did see a clinical grief psychologist. That just didn't work for me. But what really helped, I saw a holistic counsellor, and I guess what she did was she didn't go straight to the point. She didn't just dive in there and go, right, let's talk about this death, shall we? It was scooting around it, and it was in a very gentle way. It was rediscovering myself as well along the way. Yeah. So that actually...
You have to define who you are as a single person.
Absolutely. I had to find out what songs I liked.
Yeah.
What... anything.
Favourite food is, all of those kinds of things.
Yeah, who is Amy? I had to figure that out. So that was my journey as well.
Yeah. And before we wrap up, because I've realised that I was so engrossed in hearing your story that I've gone way over time, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Before we wrap up, have you got any final thoughts?
Oh, gosh. Final thoughts for me, life is too short. Life is too short to not take risks, not take a chance, not be who you want to be. I live my life for now because now is all we have. I have goals. I have a future plan. But, hey, if it
Who
doesn't
knows
go
what
that
tomorrow
way,
brings.
that's right. I just live for each day live for love, for love of family, love of my kids, love for the universe. And, yeah, I just love spreading positivity to other people. You don't know what other people are going through every day. So, you know what? That little smile, the wave that you give them might just make their day.
Yeah. And that's probably something as well that people often in our society, we work on comparisons. You know, you think your life's bad, we'll go and visit the oncology ward in the local children's hospital.
Yeah.
Just because somebody has it worse doesn't mean that your suffering isn't still suffering.
Absolutely.
And I think too often we can negate what we're going through because we're too busy comparing it to somebody else. In the same way that on Instagram you're too busy comparing how amazing somebody else's life looks when you're going through something bad. You're going, oh, well, it could have been worse because somebody else has got it worse than me. It doesn't take away from what you're experiencing.
Exactly.
And it doesn't take, just because you've got it worse than somebody doesn't take away from what they're experiencing either.
That's right.
You're right. We don't know what other people are going through. And sometimes, you know, giving them a smile or telling them that their hair looks amazing or, you know, seeing how they're going today can make a huge difference.
It really does. Yeah. Paying it forward.
That's
spreading just a little bit of positivity.
Yeah.
We've only got one life, so let's live it.
Let's live it and make the most of it.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you sharing so openly and honestly and everything that you had to share. And I will make sure that we've got links in the show notes to all of those places where they can find you and some of those supports that you spoke about as well.
Yeah, you're absolutely welcome. Thank you so much for having me, Emma.
Thank you. Thank you for joining me for today's episode of A Hidden World of Women, a podcast brought to you by Women's Health and Wellbeing Services. For more information on the services we offer, head to whws.org.au or Women's Health and Wellbeing Services on YouTube and social media. Looking forward to the next episode where we uncover the hidden world of women.